There's a phrase so simple, it almost feels like it can't work. But Neville Goddard didn't just believe in it, he lived by it. And when repeated with belief for just 3 days, reality bends to match. What is this phrase? And why does it change everything? I know what you're thinking. Another manifestation technique. Another promise that sounds too good to be true. But here's the thing. This isn't about wishful thinking or positive vibes. This is about a fundamental law of consciousness that Neville discovered and tested over and over again. I tried it. Others tried it. The results were impossible to ignore. A woman manifested a job offer in 72 hours after months of rejection. A man reconciled with his estranged father after repeating these words. Someone else watched their bank account shift from red to black in ways they couldn't logically explain. The phrase itself, it's so simple you'll want to dismiss it. But before I reveal it, you need to understand why it works. Because without the foundation, without understanding the mechanism behind it, you'll just be saying empty words. And empty words don't bend reality. Who was Neville Goddard? Born in Barbados in 1905, Neville Lancelot Goddard became one of the most influential metaphysical teachers of the 20th century. But he wasn't interested in complex rituals or elaborate systems. His teaching was devastatingly simple. Imagination creates reality. Not influences reality, not helps shape reality, creates it. Neville taught that consciousness is the only reality. Everything you see in your world right now, your circumstances, your relationships, your bank account, all of it is the outpicturing of your assumptions about yourself and life. This is the law of assumption, and is different from what most people think. You don't get what you want. You don't even get what you deserve. You get what you believe yourself to be. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you wanted something desperately, worked for it, prayed for it, but deep down believed you weren't the kind of person who could have it? Neville's most famous quote captures this perfectly. Your assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. Let that sink in. Your assumption, even if it's completely false right now, will become your reality if you persist in it. This isn't mystical thinking. This is how consciousness operates. Everything in your life right now is the result of assumptions you've held about yourself. The job you have, it matches your assumption about what kind of work you deserve. Your relationships, they reflect your deepest beliefs about love and connection. Your health, your wealth, your happiness, all assumptions made manifest. But here's the revolutionary part. You can change your assumptions, and when you do, reality has no choice but to rearrange itself to match. Neville proved this countless times in his own life. He manifested trips across the ocean when he had no money. He changed the minds of army officials during World War II. He demonstrated over and over that when you change your conception of yourself, the world changes to match it. But how do you change assumptions that have been running your life for years, maybe decades? How do you override the programming that keeps you stuck in patterns you don't want? That's where the phrase comes in. And that's where the 3-day practice becomes your gateway to a new reality. Before we get to the phrase itself, you need to understand why repetition is so powerful. Because on the surface, repeating words seems almost childish. How can saying something over and over actually change your life? Here's the secret. Your subconscious mind doesn't argue. It doesn't analyze or question. It simply accepts what it hears repeatedly as truth. Think about how you learned your native language. No one sat you down and explained grammar rules when you were a baby. You heard words repeated thousands of times until they became part of you. The same process that taught you to speak can teach you to manifest. When you repeat a phrase with feeling and belief, you're not just saying words. You're creating an identity imprint. You're literally rewiring your neural pathways to accept a new version of yourself as real. Modern neuroscience backs this up. Repetition creates new neural pathways through a process called neuroplasticity. Your brain physically changes based on what you focus on repeatedly. The thoughts you think most often become the highways in your mind, while unused thoughts become overgrown paths that eventually disappear. But Neville understood something beyond just the physical brain. He knew that repetition plus belief equals an energetic signature, and that signature broadcasts into the quantum field, attracting circumstances that match it. Like when you repeat your chosen phrase, you're doing three things simultaneously. First, you're bypassing the conscious mind's tendency to argue and analyze. The conscious mind is like a security guard, always checking if new ideas match your current reality. But repetition slips past the guard. Second, you're impressing a new assumption onto your subconscious mind, and your subconscious is the part of you connected to infinite intelligence, to the creative power of the universe. Third, you're shifting your energetic frequency. Every thought has a vibration, and sustained thoughts create a sustained vibration. That vibration goes out into the world and draws matching experiences back to you. This isn't woo-woo thinking. Quantum physics has shown us that the observer affects the observed. Your consciousness literally influences the behavior of particles at the subatomic level. If you can influence particles, why not circumstances? The key is that the repetition must be combined with belief, or at least the willingness to believe. Empty repetition is like planting seeds in concrete, but repetition with even a mustard seed of faith, that's when miracles happen. Are you ready? The phrase that Neville used, the phrase that countless others have used to transform their reality in just 3 days is this: I already am the version of me that has it. That's it. Simple, right? Almost too simple. But notice what this phrase does. It doesn't beg, it doesn't hope, it doesn't put your desire in the future. It claims it as a present fact. I already am. This aligns perfectly with Neville's teaching about living from the end. You don't affirm that you will be wealthy. You affirm that you already are the version of you who is wealthy. You don't hope to be loved. You embody the version of you who already is loved. Now, this exact phrasing might not resonate with everyone, and that's okay. Neville taught that the feeling is more important than the specific words. Here are some variations you can use. It is done. This is perhaps the most powerful alternative. 3 words that collapse time and space, declaring that your desire has already been fulfilled in the realm of consciousness. I now live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This one comes directly from Neville's teachings and focuses on the feeling state rather than the specific outcome. I already have everything I've asked for. This creates a sense of completion and gratitude, which accelerates manifestation. The key is to choose one phrase that resonates with you and stick with it for the full 3 days. Don't jump between phrases. Don't modify it halfway through. Pick your phrase like you're choosing a magic spell, because in a way, you are. When you say your phrase, feel it in your bones. Don't just mouth the words. Embody them. Become them. Let them sink into every cell of your being until there's no separation between you and the words. Remember, you're not trying to convince the universe to give you something. You're accepting what's already yours in consciousness. This shift from asking to accepting is what makes all the difference. Now let's get practical. How exactly do you use this phrase over 3 days to create maximum impact? Neville was very specific about the importance of feeling and timing. So let's break it down. Morning practice. The moment you wake up, before your logical mind kicks in with its list of problems and responsibilities, this is your golden hour. Your subconscious is still close to the surface, still pliable from the dream state. Before you even open your eyes, begin repeating your phrase slowly. Don't rush. Let each word land. I already am the version of me that has it. As you say it, Feel it. This is crucial. Neville always emphasized that feeling is the secret. Don't just think the words, feel yourself as that person who already has what you desire. Create one simple scene that implies your wish is fulfilled. If you're manifesting money, maybe you see yourself checking your bank balance and smiling. If it's love, perhaps you feel the wedding ring on your finger. If it's health, you might see yourself running effortlessly. Keep the scene simple. One moment that implies it's done. Hold this scene as you repeat your phrase, letting the words and the image merge into one feeling of accomplishment. Do this for about 5 to 10 minutes, or until you feel a shift, a sense of peace, a knowing that it's done. During the day, this is where most people fail. They do their morning practice, then spend the rest of the day contradicting it with worry and doubt. But your phrase is your anchor throughout the day. Whenever doubt creeps in, and it will, return to your phrase. Whisper it under your breath. Repeat it silently while waiting in line, sitting in traffic, or walking to lunch. You don't need to stop everything and meditate. Just let the phrase run in the background of your mind like a gentle stream. It is done, it is done, it is done. If someone asks how things are going and you're tempted to complain about what you don't have yet, pause. Take a breath. Remember, you're living from the end. You already are the person who has it. Respond from that state. This doesn't mean lying or being delusional. If someone asks about your job search and you haven't received an offer yet, you don't need to claim you have. But you can say, things are shifting. I feel really good about what's coming. Because that's true. You do have it in consciousness. And the physical world is simply catching up. Use triggers throughout your day. Every time you wash your hands, repeat your phrase. Every time you take a sip of water, every red light, turn mundane moments into manifestation moments. Night practice. Neville considered the state before sleep the most powerful time for impressing the subconscious. As you lie in bed, ready for sleep, this is your final and most important session. Get comfortable and begin whispering your phrase. Let your voice get softer and softer until you're just moving your lips, then until the phrase is only echoing in your mind. As you drift towards sleep, hold that simple scene that implies your wish fulfilled. But here's the key. Experience it in first person. Don't watch yourself like a movie. Be in the scene. Feel the textures, hear the sounds, experience the emotions of having what you desire. If you're manifesting a new home, feel yourself turning the key in your front door. If it's a relationship, feel your partner's hand in yours as you fall asleep. If it's success in your career, feel yourself at your desk in your new position, looking out the window with satisfaction. The phrase and the scene should merge into one feeling of grateful accomplishment. Let this be the last thing in your consciousness as you cross the bridge into sleep. Why is this state so powerful? Because in those drowsy moments, your conscious mind's critical faculty is suspended. You're in direct communication with your subconscious, which is connected to infinite intelligence. What you impress in this state goes deep, deeper than any affirmation said during full waking consciousness. If you wake up during the night, immediately return to your phrase. Don't check your phone. Don't start thinking about tomorrow. Just gently repeat your phrase until you drift back to sleep. Some people find it helpful to record themselves, saying the phrase and play it softly as they fall asleep. The key is that it should feel soothing, not intrusive. You want to marinate in the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Let me share some stories of people who've used this exact method, starting with Neville himself. One of Neville's most famous demonstrations happened when he was a struggling dancer in New York, desperate to visit his family in Barbados. He had no money for passage, and in those days, traveling by ship was the only option. For 3 nights, as he fell asleep, he imagined himself in Barbados. He didn't visualize getting money for a ticket or boarding a ship. He went straight to the end, being in his mother's home, feeling the tropical breeze, hearing the familiar sounds of the island. His phrase was simple: I am in Barbados. On the fourth day, seemingly out of nowhere, his dance company received a last-minute booking for a performance in Barbados. Not only did Neville get free passage, he was paid to go home. The how arranged itself once he assumed the end. Fast forward to modern times. A woman on Reddit shared how she used "it is done" to manifest a job after 6 months of rejections. She'd been applying everywhere, getting increasingly desperate. Then she found Neville's teachings. For 3 days she repeated "it is done" whenever anxiety about money arose. At night she imagined telling her mom about her new job, feeling the relief and excitement. She didn't visualize interviews or applications, just the end result. On day 4, she received a call from a company she'd applied to months earlier. They'd kept her resume and had a new position that was perfect for her. Within a week, she was employed at a salary higher than she dared to hope for. Another powerful story comes from a man who used the phrase to heal a relationship with his father. They hadn't spoken in 3 years after a bitter argument. The pain seemed too deep to bridge. His phrase was, "I already am the version of me that has a loving relationship with my dad." He found this hard to believe at first, but he persisted. Every morning, he'd repeat it while imagining a simple scene, laughing with his father over coffee. During the day, whenever the old anger surfaced, he'd return to his phrase. At night, he'd fall asleep feeling his father's hug. On the third night, he had a vivid dream about his father. The next morning, his phone rang. It was his dad, voice shaky, saying he'd had a dream too and felt compelled to call. They met that week, and while it wasn't instant perfection, the ice was broken. Today they talk regularly. I'll share one more, and this one is personal. Well, it happened to someone very close to me. They were drowning in debt, working 2 jobs, constantly stressed about money. They discovered Neville's teachings and decided to try the 3-day method. Their phrase was, "I now live in financial freedom." Every morning they'd say it while imagining checking their bank balance and seeing more than enough. During their shifts at work, instead of resenting the grind, they'd repeat their phrase and feel grateful for the abundance flowing to them. At night, they'd fall asleep feeling the relief of being debt-free. Day 1, nothing. Day 2, nothing. Day 3, still nothing. But they persisted, remembering Neville's words about living from the end. On day 4, they received an unexpected call. A small investment they'd made years ago and forgotten about had matured. It wasn't millions, but it was enough to clear their debt and create a cushion. More importantly, it shifted their entire relationship with money. Within 6 months, they'd left one job, gotten a promotion at the other, and were saving for the first time in their life. The money was just the beginning. The real transformation was internal. They'd become someone who expected good things to happen. And once you become that person, good things have a funny way of finding you. Now let's talk about what can go wrong. Because even though this method is simple, there are ways to sabotage it without realizing. The biggest mistake, looking for signs. You repeat your phrase all day, then constantly check to see if it's working. Is that email the sign? Was that comment from your boss meaningful? This checking energy is actually pushing away what you want. Remember, you're living from the end. Someone who already has $1 million doesn't look for signs that money is coming. They just live their life knowing they're wealthy. Embody that energy. The second mistake is repeating with anxiety instead of calm certainty. If you're frantically chanting, "it is done," while your body is flooded with stress hormones, you're sending mixed signals. The words say it's done, but your energy screams it's not. Take a breath, slow down. Say your phrase like you're stating a simple fact. The sky is blue, water is wet, and your desire is already fulfilled. No desperation, no forcing, just calm acknowledgement of what already is in consciousness. Another common error is changing your phrase halfway through. Day 1, you say, I am wealthy. Day 2, it becomes, money flows to me easily. Day 3, you switch to, I am a money magnet. This scattered approach dilutes your focus. Pick one phrase and marry it for 3 days. Let it become part of your mental landscape. Consistency creates the groove in consciousness that manifestation flows through. Also, avoid adding qualifiers or conditions. Don't say, I am wealthy in a good way that harms no one and is for the highest good of all concerned. While the intention is noble, you're actually implying that your desire might be harmful, which introduces doubt. Trust that when you manifest from a place of love and assumption, the universe handles the details. Your job is to assume the end, not micromanage the journey. Finally, don't talk about it too much. There's a reason many spiritual traditions emphasize silence during manifestation. When you share your practice with skeptics or even well-meaning friends who might worry about you, you open yourself to doubt and contradictory energy. Do your work in private. Live from the end quietly. Let your results do the talking. As we come to the end, I want to leave you with the most important understanding of all. It's not really about the words. The phrase is just a tool. The real power lies in the assumption behind the words. When you say, I already am the version of me that has it, you're not trying to trick the universe or fool yourself. You're aligning with a fundamental truth, that in consciousness, all possibilities exist now. You're simply choosing which possibility to embody. Neville said it best, change your conception of yourself, and you will automatically change the world in which you live. This isn't philosophy. This isn't theory. This is law, as reliable as gravity, as consistent as mathematics. When you change your conception of yourself at the deepest level, reality must reshape itself to match. The 3-day practice is your laboratory. It's short enough to maintain focus, long enough to create real impression on your subconscious. But here's the thing, don't stop at 3 days if it feels good. If you wake up on day 4, still inspired to continue, keep going. The 3 days is a minimum, not a maximum. Some people get results in 3 days. Others find that 3 days plants the seed and the harvest comes weeks later. Trust the process. Trust the law. Most importantly, trust yourself. You have the same power that Neville used. The same consciousness that has created miracles throughout history lives in you right now. The only question is, will you use it? So here's my invitation. No, my challenge to you. Try this for just 3 days. Really try it. Don't just listen to these words and nod along. Don't file it away as interesting information. Tonight, before you sleep, choose your phrase. Tomorrow morning, begin. For 72 hours, live as if your assumption is fact. Repeat your phrase with feeling. See your scene with clarity. Most importantly, walk through your day as the person who already has what you desire. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't overthink which phrase to use. Don't prepare endlessly. Start where you are with what you have, which is everything. Consciousness itself. 3 days, 1 phrase, total commitment to living from the end. That's all it takes to prove to yourself that imagination creates reality. That's all it takes to step into a new version of yourself and watch the world rearrange itself to match. The phrase that bends reality isn't magic. It's the recognition of what you've always been, the operant power in your world, the author of your story, the one who decides what's possible. Say it, feel it, become it, and then watch. Your new life is just 3 days away. Will you claim it?